Hello and welcome to this episode of My Legend. Today we have with us a very special guest.
So I'm just wondering, why do you call this podcast show My Legend?
She was an accidental entrant to the world of film journalism.
I had no ambition at all of any profession. Forget about that. I didn't even want to be a working woman. I wanted to just be married and have a normal life.
An eminent critic, author, film historian, she has been honored with the Padma Shri. Starting her career as a film reporter in the late 70s,
I have very good memories of the movies I watched even as a child.
she went to work with several film magazines through the 1980s and the 1990s. Eventually, she remained editor of Screen, a leading film magazine from 2000 to 2007. She has written over 13 books on the history of Hindi cinema and biographies of Bollywood stars including Amitabh Bachchan, Hema Malini and Lata Mangeshkar.
But there is no need for a compliment. I'm not looking for a compliment. I didn't do it for a compliment. I believe that every book has its destiny and every book has its journey and every book has a story.
Bhavna Somaiya, that's the lady of the moment.
Hello and welcome, Bhavna ji. Thank you so much for joining me on My Legend.
Yes, so I'm just wondering, why do you call this podcast show My Legend? Whose legend is it?
So, My Legend basically tries to trace film conversations in a different way. So, the idea of My Legend is to actually talk to cinephiles across the country, people who are not necessarily part of the film fraternity, but who have an opinion about cinema. And that is a broad spectrum of people. So the idea is to reach out to people like you who are not necessarily been acting or have done any sort of production per se directly in the film fraternity, but have a close understanding of the history of cinema.
See, I want the listeners to know that I make completely spontaneous and instantaneous choices. And the reason I have agreed to do the podcast here for you is because I liked you, I liked the way you approached, I liked your restraint, I liked your patience, and I liked the fact that you did not hound me. You gave me my space, so here I am.
Thank you so much. Means a lot. And I'll kind of get straight to the point. There's so much written about you, Bhavna ji. I mean, there's so much public domain information available, and you are still so active across different spaces. But my curiosity is, were you in your early childhood exposed to cinema? Do you have any early recollection of cinema, and did you at any point of time think that you were going to be associated with the film world? क्या आपको कभी लगा था कि I would one day end up being a film journalist? Because your entry into film journalism was very accidental and it's quite well documented. But कभी आपको ये अंदाजा हुआ कि भाई मैं तो लिखने वाली हूँ फिल्मों के बारे में?
Not at all. I had no ambition at all of any profession. Forget about that. I didn't even want to be a working woman. I wanted to just be married and have a normal life. And I never read any magazines. There was a girl in the class who used to read Stardust and show it to us and translate their saucy style. But it did not intrigue me at all. I was not at all attracted. We had no journalist in the family, no author in the family, no writer in the remotest extension of a friend circle. I was just looking at finishing my education and probably doing whatever my parents had decided for me. But my parents, on Thursday was a holiday at school, and they used to take us for movies, me and my sister. And it was an excitement we really looked forward to, because my mother would pack all homemade snacks, like she would put chutney in the bread and then cut them into slim slices and pack them up in a cloth bag. And when the movie started, it was passed on from mom to dad to the older sister to me. And I have memories of homemade snacks in cloth bags and watching movies. But I was so captured by what unfolded on the screen that any snack that was given to me was also an interruption. And my heart would start beating when the movie was about to start and when the auditorium was completely dark. So there was a magic about the cellulite that was attracting me. But I did not understand it at that time. And I remember telling my father one day after watching Tere Ghar Ke Samne, I told him in the interval that what is it about me that Nutan is only looking at me and talking and singing the song? Why is she only looking at me? So my father smiled and said, everyone in the auditorium feels that she's looking at them because she's looking into the camera. And it's the camera that is being transmitted to the big screen. I don't think I understood the camera and the screen and how the projection takes place. But I just thought that I was so special in the whole auditorium that she was singling me out for attention.
Yes, I know. And Tere Ghar Ke Samne, brings to mind, the Qutub Minar song as well, I mean, do you have any recollection of that song? While watching it then?
I don't know whether it was Paying Guest or whether it was Tere Ghar Ke Samne, but it was Chand Phir Nikla Magar Tum Na Aaye. So I have very good memories of the movies I watched even as a child. So one day I remember, I don't know which movie that was. That was the first movie I saw as a child, but I've still not been able to gather which movie it was. When I made a song out of that entire I remembered of the movie, because it started with the village girls carrying pots on their head and walking, and then it ended into something else. So I made the whole thing into a kind of a song or a poetry, and I narrated it to my mother, and she thought I'd gone mad.
And of course, most families, as you said, would not imagine their children really taking up a career in film. So, great quaint memories that you have shared.
And I think my parents were worried that if she's going to get associated with this film journalism and all, it's going to affect her marriage market, and the community is going to look down, and how are they going to explain it? And she's young at the moment. So all these thoughts were there. But I think eventually my parents thought that since somebody else is seeing a spark in her and offering her a job part-time that she's not finding difficult at all while pursuing her education, so let her just indulge in it on her own. She will give it up because soon people will realize that she doesn't know anything. So it's okay.
And all those illusions got dispelled, and you've had the most enduring career.
Yes, absolute illusions, because, they thought I'll give it up in 2-3 months, and I thought I will give it up in few more months. And then when it started getting to better magazines, and I still thought that I'll give it up after 1 year, I'll give it up after 2 years, and I said, okay, I'll give it up after 5 years. But the thing about this line is that it's very difficult to get into it. But if you are good, and if you got into it, there is no way you can get out of it.
Absolutely.
So whether you get old or you have grey hair, you are still there watching, observing.
Absolutely. And you're the classic testimony to that. So thank you for sharing that. And I was just curious to know, you have also trained dancer in Bharatanatyam, and you've also designed costumes for films, not consistently, but however for select people you knew very well. Did the acting bug never really bite you? I mean, you were so close to going with people in the film world. Did it never occur to you कि हाँ भाई एक बार act भी कर लेते हैं,
See, I did costumes because actors around me thought I was artistically dressed and wanted to trust my sensibility to their character. So it started with Shabana Azmi, and I started doing her films. I did a number of them like Main Azad Hoon, Kamyab, Masoom, Bhavna, and more. And then Deepa Sahi was being introduced by Govind Nihalani in Party. She was my friend, and she said, I would like you to do clothes for me for that film. And also later on when she did Govind Nihalani's long tele series, it was called something, I've forgotten the name just now, where she played, it was about the partition.
Yeah, Tamas.
When I think in the 80s, I was at a film festival in Delhi. There was Adur Gopal Krishnan, who was watching me closely, and then he sent his man to call me Like in the party, he was in one corner and I was in the other corner. I didn't know that he was watching me. And he sent his man, and I was with Deepa Sahi, and he said that, sir, calling. So I said, Deepa got very excited because she obviously thought that it was for her, and she said, come with me. And I went there. As I was going, that guy said that, no, not you. He told Deepa, sir wants to talk to her. So I went to meet Adu sir, and I said, yes. And he said that I have a role in one of my films, and you will fit it. So I said, but I'm not an actress. And he stared at me and he said, you can think about it. And I said, no, I'm not an actress. See, in the 80s, it was a very clear-cut division. That if you are a writer, you're a writer. And if you're an actor, you're an actor. An actor doesn't become a writer and a writer doesn't become an actor.
Correct.
Today, everything, the lines are blurred and everybody can do everything. So I'm very surprised that a lot of people keep asking me suddenly now that, why didn't you act? And do you still think about it and all that? And as for the dance question that you asked me, when I was a young girl in school, I was enrolled in a dance class and I did about 4 years. I did not complete the 5th year and give my Arangetram because my father said that either you are serious about your dance and you are going to take it up as a hobby or a profession. Okay. Otherwise, I'm not going to waste my hard-earned money on Arangetram, and I don't want you to lose focus on your last year of school. So you have to then quit it.
Okay.
But every time I watched dance, something stirred inside me, and I wanted to look at the dances closely. I would always attend recitals. I would also write a critique on them. And then one day, I was visiting a friend, and she said, I'm planning to enroll in an adult dance class. We are all 50 plus and learning dance. Would you like to come? So I said, I don't think I have the time for it, but I will just come with you while you are taking a trial class.
Okay.
So I sat there while they were dancing, and the teacher looked at me and she said, why don't you try since you're here? You don't have to join it. So I tried. And then when the class ended and we were going out, she called me back and she said, out of all of them, you look like you'll be able to adapt to it. Your posture is right. Your mudras are right. Have you learned dance? So I said, yes, I learned Bharatanatyam when I was a child. And she said, I think you should give it a try. Don't worry if you miss a class or something. I'll give you private tuition. The teacher was taking so much interest in me, and she really focused herself so much that even if I wanted to, I would not be able to quit. She made me give exams, and she started giving me, putting me for 2-year exams in 1 year. She started putting me on stage with her alone. And here I am performing whenever I get an opportunity.
Wonderful. So that keeps your calendar pretty full as well, right? I know you've been asked this question before, Bhanaji, but I want to ask you, you've had this fantastic rapport with people across generations of people in the film world. But if you had to single out a couple of interviews or 2-3 interviews that really made you go back home and think quite a bit about what that person said, which would those 2 or 3 conversations be? I mean, would you be able to recall anything?
No, you see, because I don't attach so much importance to it. For me, I live it while I am with that person. I give the person full attention and then transcribing it and projecting it and publishing that article. Now a story is done for me. If I start carrying articles like that in my head and heart, there would be no storage in my head and heart. This is something a lot of people ask me. For example, I was at a lit fest and somebody said, and then you wrote about the dream girl in the last paragraph this, and that was a thought-provoking statement. So I said, what did I say? So he said, you don't remember. I said, I review more than 1 film a week. How am I supposed to remember all the reviews I do? So that would be too self-indulgent in my opinion. In any case, it is their thought process, whether they are lying or whether they are speaking the truth or whether they are... But yes, I do remember snatches of conversations. For example, I remember interviewing Sharmila Tagore, and she said that she would be at shooting and her husband would call her in the lunch hour and say that he has invited some people over for dinner. And she said she would panic because she would feel that, the right crockery has to come out and the right glasses have to come out. And God knows when she will pack up, when she'll go home and she will be able to instruct the staff about it. And these kind of things used to worry her while she was giving her shot. But she realized later on that it's okay. If she does not take out the best crockery, if she does not take out the best glasses, her husband has invited the guests. The food will be made by the staff, and by the time she reaches home, all she has to do is to join the dinner. And what is important is that she has to keep up her mood and keep up her spirit, because nobody is coming to your home for your crockery and your cutlery. They're coming for your company. So when I would be too stressed out and I had a lot of work at home and I would get to know that people were coming over, I would just tell the maid that take out whatever you can lay your hands on. It does not matter whether it mixes or matches. It's all right as long as the food is tasting good and the warmth I'll bring it.
So well said. But was there that one legend or that one person you thought, I should have met this person, but I never got an opportunity so far? ऐसा कोई है जो आपके ज़हन में आता है? It was a lost opportunity of a lifetime.
I was not there in that era, but I would have liked to meet Meena Kumari. I would have liked to meet Guru Das. I would have liked to meet maybe Madhubala. Newton I met, but one was so young at that time that one felt that, where to... You were not so interested in the older people.
Correct.
So I think that Raj Kapoor was also there, but one didn't make an effort to really chat up with him or catch him up or do a in-depth interview whereby you get to connect with that soul,
Correct.
And I have not interviewed ever Lata Mangeshkar. I think it's too late now because she doesn't keep well. Correct. And she doesn't meet anybody. And
yes. Also, when did this idea of becoming an author really germinate? Was it planted into your head by someone else or आपका खुद का inspiration था ये?
नहीं, कोई inspiration नहीं था, कोई plant नहीं था. Everything in my life has been an unplanned decision. I became a journalist by accident. I became a columnist by accident, and I became an author by accident. There is enough document everywhere about how I wrote my first book. It was just too many interviews done with Mr. Bachchan, and I just decided to put it in order. And I realized that I had so much of content, so I produced it as a book. And after that, it was just a discipline of bringing out a book every year. So I continued always being a full-time journalist, whatever my job was as an editor or later on as a radio jockey. And plus, I always wrote one book a year.
Your decision to put in, so much of material about Bachchan Saab, and you have also mentioned that he has never complimented you. Did he at any point of time, even till date, come back and speak about the book you wrote? Did he have anything to say?
No.
Okay.
But there is no need for a compliment. I'm not looking for a compliment. I didn't do it for a compliment.
He's reported to have said, in your own words, that this is your project. You treat it the way you want. So he gave you all the space to carry on with the...
Yes.
One last question, which I will definitely ask you. It is about your latest book.
Yes. Letters to Mother?
Yes, Letters to Mother. Now that this book is coming out, has come out very recently, and is available everywhere for the public to read. What's your sense about the book, Bhavna ji?
I believe that every book has its destiny and every book has its journey and every book has a story. So it is not as if again I planned this book. I have a writer friend who just called me up one day and said, so what are you writing these days? And then he said, so what are you translating these days? Because he's aware that I had translated a book on Lord Krishna from Gujarati into English in the year 2008. And I said, I'm not translating anything because it takes a lot of my energy and stamina. And he said, no, I think you should think of translating Narendra Modi's book from Gujarati. And I said, oh, that's a mammoth task and I'm not going to take it. But he insisted. So I looked into my bookshelf if I had any book, and I did have a book because I had attended the book release in 2014. And on the stage, he had talked about how that book was born, because in 1986, when he was not the Chief Minister of Gujarat, he was not even in the BJP, he was just an RSS party member. And he used to keep a journal, a diary, where he would write his innermost thoughts addressed to the Mother Goddess. And I began reading, and because I'm not educated in Gujarati, it is my mother tongue, so I am well versed with the spoken language. And my parents insisted that I should learn the script also, so I can read it, but it is a slow read and a difficult read. And I read it and I thought about it for a week, what I should do about it. And then I said, look, it's going to be very tough, but let me just try it. And I'm not going to tell anybody about it. I will just try it, and once it is done, then we'll see how it goes. So the first draft is always easy because I have the psyche of a journalist who rushes through deadlines. So I just finish it, whether it's coming out right or wrong, I finish it because I know I can correct and improve in the second draft or the third draft. And then I started reworking on it, getting the words right, getting the context right, getting the structure right, getting the meter right, because the voice had to match, style had to synchronize. I was looking into dictionaries for the right words. I also had a standby friend who I would again consult and ask if this was sounding all right, if I was getting the meaning right. Because he uses very, very high-flowing Gujarati. It's not the regular Gujarati that is spoken in a Gujarati household. And it was a very painful process because there is a lot of suffering, there's a lot of challenges he's facing, there's a lot of anxiety, there is a lot of heartache. It is about not personal angst, but it is for idealistic worldview that he sees of wanting a better world, a better nation, better, happier humanity, and what he feels for it. So it took me a while. I finished it, and when I was absolutely ready, I told my agent that this is what I have, and she said, great. And she pitched it, and we zeroed in on HarperCollins, who have done a great job of the book production. And yesterday, on the 17th September, that is the Prime Minister's birthday, we had at midnight, which is in America, the daytime, an international launch. And yes, everybody is happy. And I hope everybody is going to buy it. I, through your program, request everybody that go for the book, because this is not about the Prime Minister, this is not about the Chief Minister, this is about a common man like you and me, and it is the best glimpse you will ever get of your Prime Minister as a human being.
Yes, in fact, this is something that, at least me personally, is really looking forward to kind of chew into. And Bhavnaji, now that we come to a close of this interview, would you have anything as a closing comment to people, to our listeners here about, today we have social media, we have lots of information coming about lots of people across the celebrity world. What people should filter out or what people should be hearing? The truth can come in so many ways. Do you have any closing comments or a closing message on that?
I don't think the truth can come in so many ways. I think the truth can only come through your eyes and your heart. It's what you see only what you should believe, or what you hear is what you have to believe. You can't be getting into the vortex of fake news and hearsay and stop forwarding messages. It's a pain to delete all that opinions that people have about everything. I just think there is a film that is out in the Netflix called The Social Dilemma. It is about what the social media has done to us. A magic that they served us has become a monster. So there is a advantage of technology and there is a disadvantage of technology, and we must know how to use it in proportion and in the right measure. I know how to use it. I think others also have to learn how to use it.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Bhavnaji, for your time, and thank you so much for joining me on My Legend.
Yes, bless you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So that was Bhavna Sumaya joining us on this episode of My Legend. If you like this episode, do follow us on Facebook at My Legend Podcast. Also, do subscribe to this podcast as well. Thank you. Till the next episode.